Hello and welcome back to HR Stew. My name is Regina Dyerly.
And I'm Holly Nels. And this is HR Stew.
What happens when workplace relationships blur into friendships or even family ties? In this episode of HR Stew, we're diving into the complicated world of office connections, whether it's coworkers becoming best friends, managers hiring their cousins, or budding romantic relationships. We're asking the big question, when do relationships at work become a problem, and when are they a strength? Let's start with a question. What is your personal philosophy, workplace policies aside, on relationships, family, and or friendships in the workplace?
I say no. It muddies the waters, and I have control issues, fully aware of them. And I want to keep my family relationships and my friendships completely separate from work.
You did recommend one of your best friends to work here.
However, she would not be in my department or anything.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's true. Look, I think we have a client who only hires, all his key people are people that he is friends with or known. And in fact, he's a client because he was friends with one of our partners for 20 years, right? That's one philosophy for sure. I mean, there's a trust level there, right? So I think that's one plus. I think you have to be careful with family members more than friends. I think it's easier to set boundaries with friends. If you set correct boundaries, I think you could be successful. I think that's really the key. So I'm not a hard no. I think if someone is qualified, I don't think they should be discriminated against because you're their family member. Actually, and I had that happen to me because my sister had applied at my last company for a very low-level, entry-level job. And I didn't want to hire her, and one of the supervisors called me on it.
Oh, wow.
And she did get hired, and she worked there for a long time, actually, longer than me, in fact. So I guess I do have experience with this, and I just remembered it right now that had happened. I mean, she didn't report to me. We weren't in the same department, obviously. I was in HR.
Right.
But because I was HR, there was a conflict, I thought, which is why I was hesitant. I just was never involved with anything that related to her. And luckily, she did a good job and there were no HR issues.
Sterling did tell me when he's done with college, he's going to start his own business. And the only person he would trust to do his HR or handle anything would be me. And he said, I'll just call you in, Mom, when I need help.
Oh.
But he's overheard many HR conversations.
I love that.
So let's start out talking about workplace friendships. What seems like a nicety sometimes can turn into favoritism, souring of a friendship, or even cliques. So my first question is, as a manager, when is it appropriate to hire a friend? And what steps should be taken in that case?
I think, I know I said a hard no. However, I think if the person you are hiring is a great fit for the position, can be successful in the role, and that they would do a good job for the organization, I think that's when it would be appropriate. But I also think that you should have those conversations of, I've hired a friend of mine before in a previous role many years ago. And we had a conversation of, if this starts to affect our relationship or our friendship, then she was going to bow out gracefully and exit the role. That was what she decided, that if it didn't work out or she wasn't happy there, she was just going to leave. We're still friends to this day. She did not work there very long.
So I already said this, but it's not inherently wrong, obviously, to hire a friend, right? I mean, competence is competence. If they're qualified for the job, they're qualified for the job. But I think there have to be safeguards. So I think you definitely have to make sure that there's full disclosure of the relationship, even if it is a friendship,
right,
depending on what your role is in the hiring process. Maybe there is not one. You should not be involved in the interview process, period. Definitely that person can't report to you.
Yeah.
So I think there's workarounds for that. Even if it is something that should be reporting to you, there's other ways, depending on the company. There's other avenues you could do. You could have a middle person at least.
Right.
Or something. I think having written expectations, that's good for any role. So I think that should be consistent. It can work, but it depends on the safeguards. For sure,
right,
that you put in place.
Right.
Have you ever seen favoritism in the workplace because a manager was friends with a coworker?
I've absolutely seen that in different ways. So sometimes they were friends prior. Sometimes people just have an affinity for certain people and just like people more, right? So sometimes it's really blatant, sometimes it's not. A lot of times favoritism doesn't present as promotions, it presents as protection, right? So it's excusing behavior or making sure that, I don't know, that they're just protected. I don't know that I want to go into more detail than that.
Or even if you know somebody's not good for a role, keeping them in that role due to the favoritism.
Correct.
So yes, I have seen favoritism in the workplace a lot with, like you said, like-minded people, and people have been kept in roles. People have gotten out of disciplinary issues. People are allowed different treatment. Maybe they're allowed to go home early or come in late or go to doctor's appointments. I know that's protected, but all of those things just due to the favoritism and the friendship that they have with the leadership. And it's not fair or consistent.
So kind of changing direction here, should managers be friends outside of work with their employees?
I really think it depends on the relationship you have outside of work. Like the relationship I had in my 20s with my manager and our leadership team outside of work, probably shouldn't have had. And
that's a different time in your life.
Yes.
That wasn't when you were on a career path.
Correct.
But the manager might have been.
The manager might have been. And yeah, I can tell you many stories, but it's not podcast appropriate.
I'm not telling any stories about my 20s on our podcast, period.
But I really think it depends on the individuals involved and the type of relationship they have outside of work.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, can it blur the lines? Of course. Again, you could be friends or friendly with somebody and see them outside of work without being in their inner circle.
Right.
I think you could absolutely be friends with somebody with caveats, obviously. I don't know. I think adults meet people at work.
Right.
It's where we spend almost all of our time. It's the manager thing that makes it a little tricky. Like if your friendship precludes you from being able to be a manager, then it's a problem. If it doesn't, then there's not a problem.
Right.
As long as you could still, if there is a disciplinary action, if there is a tough conversation, if there's an uncomfortable conversation, sometimes those things don't exist. Sometimes you just work well with somebody and there's no problems. So you can be friends.
Right.
But it can be tricky. And somebody potentially could manipulate your friendship to make you feel like you cannot hold them accountable for certain things. It just depends. It depends.
Right. And it goes back to the people involved.
Exactly.
All right, so let's shift into the topic of family in the workplace. Many businesses start out by collaborating with family members, but when does it actually become a problem? The world is, of course, full of familial hiring. For example, notable Nepo babies, Liza Minnelli, Jeff Bridges, George W. Bush, Jamie Lee Curtis, Gwyneth Paltrow, Nick Cage, Miley Cyrus, the Kardashians in general, Laura Dern, Carrie Fisher, that's just a few. When is hiring a family member appropriate versus when does it cross the line into nepotism?
I think it is appropriate when your family member can meet the needs of the essential functions of the job description. And you know that person's going to have your back. I think it's inappropriate when you're just giving them a role to give them a role to put them on payroll.
Yeah, I think it crosses into nepotism when rules bend or consequences disappear, right? So actually, I just wanted to go back to you saying all the movie stars. I just watched, it was viral a few weeks ago. I think Kate Winslet was talking about how she doesn't like the term Nepo baby and she doesn't subscribe to it or whatever terminology she used. I love her. I think she's fabulous. I think she's a fantastic actress. She just seems like a real person. I was so put off by that because she's like using her children as an example and she's literally acting in her son's screenplay. Tell me if his screenplay even would have been seen by anybody if he wasn't her son. It's just absurd. She's like, I encourage them to forge their own path. Yes, but you're Kate Winslet and you're acting in your son's screenplay.
However, even in the corporate world, what's the saying? It's not what you know, it's who you know. That can help you get from place to place. I know somebody very close to me who got their job just due to the fact of who they knew in the organization and what this person did. They've been able to keep their job because of their skills and and grow their job because of their skills. However, to get their foot in the door, it's because of who they knew. That would be the same thing as Kate Winslet and her son. You want to give your children every leg up. I don't know. I don't know that I would say that's corporate America. Yes, I hear what you're saying, but it's still...
It's not the same thing. I mean, yeah, I got this job because I knew somebody that worked here too. I knew her for 2 months. I worked with her. I impressed her. She contacted me.
Yeah.
It is all who you know, but it's about networking. It's not, I'm going to get... Yes, it is for some people, obviously, but that doesn't make it fair or right. There could have been an equally qualified person or a better qualified person that should have got the job and would have been in the same position right now.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's the way the world works. Totally understand it, not trying to change it, not arguing about it, but we are talking about it. I think, look, when you see somebody, a family member or a friend getting hired, it gives everybody pause, right? There's an expectation that something's going to be taken away from you,
right?
Potentially, even if it's not, right? So there is a perception issue that has to be tackled when you do that. Some people care about doing that correctly. Some people don't. And just like, suck it up. You know what I mean? Like, this is my son, this is my daughter, this is my nephew, this is whoever, and this is the way it's happening. I don't know. I think people are entitled to feel the way that they're going to feel about it. It's just so prevalent right now, especially in Hollywood. It's like everywhere you turn, it's someone's son or daughter or whatever is, like, gosh, that person looks familiar. Oh, that's Bill Pullman's son. It's like he actually has the same face. I don't know. I just think we're in interesting times right now where it just seems to be more in some areas.
Yeah.
How does hiring a family member affect morale in the workplace, and how can negative effects be avoided?
I guess I just touched on that one, right? I think it does affect morale regardless. I think transparency and being fair and consistent across the board. Make sure people know the reason why that this person was qualified. What criteria did you use to hire them? I just try and make it as fair as possible so that it doesn't destroy your morale, because it can.
And I think even if you are very open and transparent, it could still destroy morale. Like, oh, they only got the job because they're the owner's son, or...
If you do it correctly, that's only temporary though, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you could repair that.
So what has been your personal experience with nepotism in the workplace?
So I do have an example, and this was a while ago, but several companies ago that I worked at, and I worked there for a while, had got bought by a very large company. And the CEO had hired his son, who was, insurance rep, like an independent insurance rep, selling car insurance and whatever. Had hired him for this high-level project management role to manage the whole transition. He came on site. He was very nice. His son was very nice, but certainly out of his depth for that role. But the CEO had his retirement date was already on the books. It was a few years out, but I think he was really trying to set his son up, like to
take over his role.
No, he was not. There was already a successor for him.
Oh, okay.
So the COO was moving into that role, but just to make sure he got him a career, he probably did not want him to be an independent insurance broker or agent. Sorry. So he was completely out of his depth. I mean, when he came on site, he was so focused on building a second door for our entrance. He spent I don't know how much money on this. I think I've mentioned this before in an earlier podcast, and it was just kind of hysterical. And then, so after I had left there, I actually was thinking about it one day, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what role he's in now. And it didn't work, and he was back being a State Farm rep.
Oh, no.
So whatever happened, the CEO had retired. I had looked many years later.
Right.
And the son had gone right back to it. So it just didn't take, people did not take him seriously regardless. I just remember one very high up person going, oh, he's a good kid. So they really resisted. They did not support his efforts. He obviously did not do it the right way. And he put him in a role that was too high level for his experience of never working in corporate America and then putting him in charge of a major project. This was a $100 million deal or something that they put him in charge of the transition. And he was focused on making sure that the rain didn't ruin the carpet when people walked through the entrance.
That's important.
I would say it's not important, but I don't know that it was the most important thing.
Or at his level, that should have been what he focused on.
Not to mention that their ultimate goal was to close down the location in the end and merge it into their headquarters. So I don't understand why the whole thing was confusing to me, because that's ultimately what ended up happening a few years later.
All right, so to close it up, with Valentine's Day coming up, I would be remiss not to discuss romantic relationships in the workplace. Whether it's a previous relationship that existed before hire or one that began after becoming coworkers, workplace romance is an intense topic, but often unavoidable. What do you think is the best policy when it comes to workplace relationships, when it comes to disclosure rules, etc.?
I think if you're in a relationship, you need to disclose that
Absolutely.
right away.
100%. It's not about punishment, it's about protection.
Yes.
So you need to do that. 100%.
Not to mention it's protecting your relationship. It's protecting your work relationship, multiple steps.
Just to clarify, you said you should disclose it immediately. When is immediately?
I think once it's an actual relationship.
Mm-hmm. If you know that, look, stuff happens. People, again, adults meet people at work. So we're not talking about a situation where someone's having an affair or something really difficult. We're talking about two single adults who meet. I mean, that's what we're talking about for this Valentine's Day thing, right? And they decide they like each other and want to have a relationship. That is when you absolutely disclose it.
Yes.
So what about it when it comes to different tiers in the company?
I mean, the higher the difference in authority, the higher the risk. We just did a harassment training that we talked about this. I mean, power imbalances change the HR response. So that's difficult. That's definitely not recommended. I mean, there would have to be some changes that would happen if there was a manager.
Changes to the structure.
Right. Like you can't have a direct report.
Right.
You wouldn't want to.
Yes.
So that something would have to change, and who that changes for, that's always an interesting thing. And that there's so many different ways that could go.
Look at I don't remember what concert they went to. Was it the CEO and the CHRO? They were having an inappropriate affair and got caught at a concert.
Her new article said that they weren't having an affair.
I didn't see that
it
new
was
article.
Like they had drinks and they were both separated and they had a bad moment. That didn't go right. That's just what she said. People believe her. People don't believe her.
Right.
Doesn't matter. Either way, I mean, they definitely paid the price. They both lost their careers.
Yes. They lost their careers and they put people around them in uncomfortable situations.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what boundaries should be established in a workplace to avoid relationship-based blow-ups?
There's a lot of boundaries. I mean, definitely no public displays of any kind of affection, no shared decision-making, where bias could exist, no involvement in pay, performance, discipline, promotions, no preferred scheduling, flexibility or assignments, definitely just professional conduct during and after the relationship. I mean, look, HR problems don't happen during the relationship. They happen when the relationship ends.
Yes.
So that's just something that you definitely want to manage, when possible, if and when it does end, that it's done as cleanly as possible. I mean, it's more than just your love life on the line here. It's your job, your livelihood, etc.
And you want to have clear policies in the company handbook on relationships in the workplace, who they're reporting to. Have clear guidelines set out ahead of time so everybody knows what to do, who to talk to, and what expectations are going to be made.
Right. And if a relationship can't survive professional boundaries, it should not exist at work.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever want to work with my husband, for the record.
Oh my gosh, I would never want to work with my husband.
All right, so next we go to the segment Ask HR, where people can go online and ask professionals questions and get answers. So this comes from user WildTrait100, and I'm not going to read the title. The question will come at the end. It reads, my wife recently told me that she has an issue with me going to dinner on occasion with my female boss. My boss and I work remote from home, but happen to live about 45 minutes apart. So from time to time, I drive to meet her for dinner and drinks after work. The dinners are not strictly work related. We chat about life and about work. The dinners are friendly, have never become romantic in any way. My wife told me she believes these dinners are inappropriate and that a married man should not be having dinner one-on-one with a female coworker. She's also married, if the dinner is not required for work. My wife feels it is disrespectful of me to have these dinners, and she also believes the optics are bad, like someone might see us out to dinner and get the wrong idea. I believe these kinds of dinners are common and not problematic. I would love opinions here. Am I wrong for occasionally having dinner with a female coworker, or am I right in thinking that an occasional dinner with a coworker is fine as long as it's not romantic in nature? What are the rules here?
I mean, first off, I'm not a couple counselor, but it sounds like the wife has some trust issues.
100%.
A one-on-one dinner with a coworker, or in this case, it's his manager, correct, is not inherently inappropriate, disrespectful, or unprofessional. I'm going to tell you, so I had a situation at my last job where I had gotten a new manager, and I don't know if I talked about this before, I think I have, that he would not, so I was the HR director there, and we had weekly meetings that he wanted to have for me to update him, and we had a lot going on at the time, and he was not comfortable closing the door. So I had to have conversations with him with the door open, and there was not another manager that he did that with. I was the only female manager that reported to him as well, or director. I felt like that was discrimination. I felt like I was being discriminated against, and I don't throw that word around.
Right.
I definitely have some bitterness about how my relationship ended with that company, predominantly because of him. But I just felt like that was highly inappropriate to single me out like that I couldn't have a private conversation with him, and there was private things to discuss. So I'm not trying to make this conversation about me, which I realize I just did. But I'm using it as an example, like what would be the difference if the coworker or his manager was a man and you did not have a problem with him
Right.
going
Building
to dinner
a
with
relationship.
him? Right. This is a good manager who's trying to build a relationship. Like, of course you're not going to just talk about work at a dinner. That's a manager trying to get to know you.
Yeah.
Know what your drivers are, know what's important to you. That's it. She sounds like a good manager.
Right.
They're both, and it sounds like they like each other too, which is even bigger plus.
Right.
The fact that they could meet in the middle or whatever of a 45-minute drive, that's wonderful. That's convenient for him. It's probably better for his career, quite frankly, that he's building this relationship with her. She's going to have information about him potentially that she wouldn't have from one of her direct reports because she is spending that time with him. That's almost giving him an advantage. But regardless, what is that called? Not affinity, but what is it called? The geographic bias. There's a name for it, and I can't think of what it's called. I'm veering off here, but I'm just, because the question is this inappropriate, unprofessional? My simple answer, just like you, is absolutely not. If just because something is uncomfortable for the spouse does not make it inappropriate for work.
I agree. I think that the wife has trust issues, like you said, and I think that this manager is doing a great job trying to build a relationship in a remote environment with her subordinates.
I think she's using triggering words on purpose because she really just doesn't want this to happen. It is not inappropriate. It's highly appropriate for them to spend time together. Regardless, I mean, I don't know. Would she be more comfortable? Could there be a concession? Like, again, we're not relationship counselors, but could there be a concession made and maybe they could do lunch instead? I think that would still be just as appropriate, and maybe it would bother the wife less. I don't think anybody seeing them at dinner would think anything about it. And if everybody works remote, no one's seeing them anyway.
Right.
So I don't even think that's a valid point. But I don't know. I guess if he wants to try to accommodate his wife, maybe the lunch thing would work better.
I thought the same thing about the lunch thing, but then I was thinking of the logistics, driving 45 minutes to go meet for lunch.
But they can meet in the middle.
True, but that's still...
I'm a problem solver. I'm solving problems here.
That is still 22 and a half minutes on 45 minutes.
It takes us both a half an hour to get to the office, Holly.
That's fair, but when we meet in the middle, it's 10 minutes.
But we met here today, and it took us both 30 minutes to get here.
Yeah, but I think it's just crazy to do that for lunch, and the wife needs to... Maybe he invites the wife to lunch or dinner.
No, it's a work meeting. Now, if they invite their spouses, I think that changes the dynamic to maybe being inappropriate.
I'm thinking.
In relation to other people at work, not...
Yes, because then you're building a friendship.
Correct. That's what I meant, not inappropriate in the sense of them all eating a meal together.
So that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for listening. And if you've enjoyed your time with us, please subscribe and leave a review. If you have any HR stories or questions to share, message us on Instagram at hr.stew. I'm Holly.
And I'm Regina.
And we'll see you next time on HR Stew.